Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. I apologize for the tearing eyes, but I was just yawning because that's basically the type of day we had. We had a yawner where came in down, 4 or 5 handles. Tried to outline some areas in the spiders that could be support. We talked about upper level support. We talked about the 8-day moving average, which we were very extended from. And then really within the first 5 to 15 minutes of the day, spiders just slowly crawled up, went positive, had a little push, and all in all, if this is the big down day or this is the big move lower that everyone on the bearish team is saying we're going to have, I don't know. They're in a bit of trouble if that's all they're looking to do is just keep shorting this market, because there's been a lot of really good action out there. If you look at the chart of the SPX, you'll see, ever since the move from this low, this was at June 4th low, you've had a methodical move all the way to the upside. And I know now we're hovering at the upper end here. Just a little brief note. Every time we've gone to this upper end and it looked like we were going to come in the next day, they held us in there and then it broke. Here was a move to the highs. It looked like we were going to hold in here. It could have been worse. We came down. This one happened a little bit quicker, and this one wasn't. And so actually, there's no pattern to really look out there. But the basic thesis here is this was your upper level that we talked about, your 1390 to 1394. We only went as low as 1396, and then the 8-day, which we've tested every single time we've come off this upper area, is still right down here as it's catching up at around 1387. So all in all, pretty decent day digestion-wise. A lot of stocks didn't really come in. Priceline is the one that came out with earnings. It gapped down and didn't rally really whatsoever except for the first 5 minutes. Some guys in my site on the VTF had a nice day shorting this, had a great morning setup. Okay, if you take a look here, just at your 3-minute chart, so you can take a look at it. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. Basically, it opened up just like anything else. It was down $100, so some people tried to buy this thing. I know I actually think I made a little bit of money above 581 for a quickie, but really the real trade was waiting for it to consolidate, waiting for it to develop this 30-minute wedge type format. And then once it broke below this low here of this was 577. Some people cheated a little bit short, and then when it broke the morning low of 575, a nice round number, didn't really give you any pain, because that's where I added to it also. And then you went from 575 in 2 bars as low as 570 and a quarter. So that's $5. If you cheated from the wedge, another 5. So that's a $10 trade on something pretty calculated. Huge gap down, tried to come up, was negated on the spar right here, never came back and took at least half of it. Consolidated, broke to the downside, broke the morning low. Here was, $5, $10, and then it couldn't even get back above. So if you had a stop in at the previous low, you could have stayed with it, created a bear type flag, then broke below this 570. And before giving you a little bit of a reversal bar, you're talking 566. That's $19 in, I think in an hour. Okay, that's a nice trade for those of you who trade Priceline. As far as some other high beta names, really didn't have too big of an effect. If you look at the daily chart of Apple, I know a lot of people are really scared that today was ex-dividend, that tomorrow maybe everyone will sell it because they now have the dividend. I'm not so sure. I do know that it's still holding this upper level, so this nice little bull flag type format here. So here's your 615.26. It's still holding above it. It did go $1 below yesterday's low to his 617 and came back above it. Came up to this area, wasn't ready to go. So you have a nice little area here. I'm about tier 1, trying to stay with it, but I've traded around it many times. I bought here, added in this area, added above this area for a nice trade to 624. Now I'm hovering. So I'm in like a little less than a tier 1. And if it starts to go again, I will be adding above 625. But as a swing, really, you could be up almost 20 points. And if you really were quick, when it went into this earnings gap, that was your area to buy, 580.80. We tweeted about it, talked about it. It was on the price point sheet. Didn't trigger below the low of this little range and actually went up to the upside. And now we're hovering above. So it looks pretty good. Amazon's taking its sweet, you-know-what time. Very, choppy here. I was in it overnight. I said, I'm just going to wait. Google was green first, had a push, and then just really wanted to hang around. So it's still consolidating well. Really nice move off the earnings, holding higher, a little sloppy. That's why you have to take some trades and not have a lot of size. But overall, flagging, and to me this looks like this gets taken out at some point in the fourth quarter and we get 700 plus. Baidu, yesterday some guys sold the strength because it had a really nice move from 125, and now if you look at Baidu, it's still trading really well ever since earnings and ever since they gapped it up right here and it couldn't fill the gap. Look at the size of it. It's been trending higher. It gave you a nice tight pattern right here to initiate more, and now it looks like it's flagging again, and to me it seems like it wants higher prices. As far as some of the other guys in that group that woke up, Sina, here's your 2-day move. We talked about this igniting bar. Now it's holding. If it holds again, maybe this laggard continues. Yoku, some guys were looking at that the last 2 days. It too, if you look closely, it doesn't look like much, but it's calculated. You had your wake up day, your follow through. Today was inside day, so to speak. So if it flags, keep it on the radar. You're talking, we talk about some lower level laggard type plays, and GMCR was a great 3-day trade. I went long it 3 days ago and I sold it today. If you look at the move that GMCR had, very calculated, nice lower level play. Not a barn burner, but you want to look at the percentages. This was up over 15% in 3 days. People, are accepting 4 to 6% for a year. We can make it in tactical trades. Here was a gap up on earnings. Here was a nice sideways move showing commitment, never filled the gap, crossed above this little 2-day pivot. This was your ad, and then it even crossed above this level for an ad before, coming off a little bit. So I took that trade there. So using our skill set of thinking and using some common sense, I'm like, what else in that heavily shorted arena could we go after next? So guys are talking about Java. So you look at JVA, doesn't need a rocket science for that. You had your igniting bar down here at the low, held higher, went sideways, showed commitment, trying to grab this little pencil here. And, all of a sudden with the follow through in GMCR, shorts got a little scared and you had another nice trade here. I think this was up 13%, almost filling this gap. And if you look at where this stock came from, so battered and bruised and does like to go when it wants to go. But, just a lower level trade. It's August, not much going on. People might laugh and say, oh, look at this little chart here. Meanwhile, 13%. All right, you go hold the mega cap behemoths or bonds or whatever it is you are holding and make your 6% for the year. We'll find 10, 13, 15%, hopefully in a 1 to 3 day tactical play besides your apples and everything else. As far as Goldman Sachs, flagging, this was the level it broke above, tested, held, had a nice move. One of these days, I think it's going to get back above this 200 and continue a little bit. JP Morgan was stronger today. It too is actually above the 200 day. It closed okay. It's working its way into the gap. Was this a line that I drew? Yeah, that's a line I drew that would fill the gap. So it's worth being a little long here. Wells Fargo, which is the best in breed, not really breaking out. It's having a hard time. I just still think these banks are hard to buy into strength. But at this point, I'd be a tiny bit careful because there are a lot of bears out there pointing out a double top. I don't think that's the case. But you do have somewhat of an uptrend that's trying to hold. So, if you're not committed to Wells Fargo, trade it versus this, have a high level stop. Silver I tried today. Silver and gold just, the SUCK, if you know how to spell. It's a bad word. Couldn't break above. I was long some. I thought it would break above this 27.39 or I tried, went to 27.41 and came off. I wasn't here, didn't have stops in, so I'm still in some. I will give it to, I guess, the 8-day moving average, and then maybe something happens, but it's still very lethargic, no follow through, nothing trade. Gold, the same thing. I don't even know why I put it up, but it's in this area trying to go sideways. There's just no just no power in this thing, and it's just either it's driving everyone nuts and putting them to sleep before I move, or it's just going to stay like this, and you're better off doing other things and wait for some kind of igniting bar, which we really haven't seen. The only igniting bar we've seen this whole year in gold has been to the downside, and that's what controlled the trade. And really, there's not much to talk about. There are things going on. There aren't 100 things going on. There are a few. We're really not having 52-week high breakouts. Actually, today, XOM, guys that got in long yesterday. Taylor, she was watching and got in yesterday. Couldn't break through. Today, it broke above. Nice little trade here. So if you want to just take a quick look at XOM, it did make new highs, and it did follow a nice pattern. Had it off the charts a few days back. Nice breakout. Didn't close into dead highs. Didn't go nuts, but look where it came from. But at least it gave you a little follow through. You look at the 3-minute chart. When this stock wanted to go, on an intraday basis, it had a great move. And that's all you could ask for cash flow wise. Here was just say the open. Okay, what was this? This was this today? No, this was today, where this was yesterday's high. Couldn't really get above it, and then all of a sudden opened down a little bit, came back up, and then as soon as the market rally went, if you were armed with 790 or 88, you made a quick 50 cents. Look at the size of this wide range bar. That's a lot of money in active trader land. Then you had a little bit of a flag type pattern and a little bit of follow through before the market, lost a little energy. Energy, XOM, isn't that funny? And then CVX, same type of move. I don't know how it closed, but it's still working its way higher, still hugging the 8-day moving average at highs. If you're a stock picker and you've been holding this thing for a long period of time, look at you. You're making good money. You're an investor from 60 to as high as 112. You doubled your money in 2 years, and people say it can't happen anymore, but it can happen. And look at the liquidity you have and the dividends you have, and it's not as big of a dividend as in XOM, but still there's ways to make money in stocks and holding them besides just trading them and using an intermediate approach. So I'm going to wrap it up. It's Wednesday. It's been a slow week, but it's been a profitable week. There's been a lot going on. It's really good when when stocks kind of consolidate and go. It gives you price patterns, tight scenarios to have a price point to get in at and feel comfortable. And let's hope it continues. Guys that are trading this market and not just fading this market are having a lot more success than others. Guys that are holding 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 positions with a hedge, and every time we extend, add to their hedge, and then when we pull in, cover it, and then buy some strong stocks, they're the ones not that frustrated. There are ways to trade this type of tape, and it always changes. So unless you're going to change with the tape and look at the speed and really figure out how you could handle it, you're going to get yourself in a position where you're going to come out of the summer, you're going to lose a lot of money, and you're going to be behind the 8 ball going in the fall. Try not that, don't let that be you. You still have a lot of summer left, and if you're not seeing it, enjoy it. So you don't come into the fall all battered and bruised, and you're better off being recharged and less active than not seeing it in a big hole. Anyway, Ironman Saturday. Tomorrow's a half day for me. Then I'm getting off my feet, and then Friday I go check my bike in, and Saturday's the race. My bib number is 1974. If you go to Ironman.com, you can follow me all day. You'll see when we get out of the swim, the bike, the run. I'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow, as I will be in dress down mode trying to rest my feet. Have a great evening, and I'll see you in the morning. T3 Live, Scott Redler. Adios.